Every time I try to do something. What is good, folks? Now That's Debatable is back. I am your host, Sydney Smith, with my co-host, Aldean and Carlee. We got a fun show lined up. It's been a week since we've seen all of you, but we are back and happy to be doing it. I see a hi guys floating out there, so hello, person. I assume that's Mary, actually, but I just see Facebook users. So hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys for joining us for another Now It's Debatable. Thank you guys for listening to us via podcast as well on Thursdays. We appreciate you. Let those numbers keep rolling in. If you're hearing that snap, crackle, pop, that's me opening up a body armor so I can stay hydrated. It is 110 degrees today. And let me tell you, it feels like 85. So I'll take it. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm good. That was Mary Ballard that says hello. We got Chelsea saying hello. So what's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Monday to all our master debaters. Back with another fantastic show. It was a good weekend. You had shows. I did a show. It was a pretty solid weekend.
It was good, and I'm going to touch on that probably for my wait one more thing is when I think I'm gonna touch on the shows. But yeah, fantastic shows. Shout out to everybody who came out to the Tempe Improv. Had a great time. Again, I'll get more into that for my wait one more thing, or what is it? Wait one more thing, or what the hell? What are we doing? I forget
What
now.
the hell?
What the
Whichever one.
Yeah,
Whichever
yeah.
one.
But we'll jump into that. So Danielle Marie is in with us too. Thank you, Danielle, for jumping in. Shout out to you. Before I started cracking this body armor, I want to go back. Thank you guys for listening to us on the podcast, watching us on YouTube. It has been helpful. It has been awesome. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. We do this one together, but then Dion does another podcast on his own as well with his other podcast partner called Sorry We're Canceled, right?
Correct.
And
Yep.
you guys just hit 100 episodes. Congrats to you guys for doing
Thank you.
that. For folks out there who don't do a podcast, the average is anywhere from 30 to 50 before people say, I had enough, I'm out for whatever reason. Most of the time, it's just you expect to get more out of it than you're getting. You think you're going to blow up like Joe Rogan in 20 episodes, and that's just not how this works. So it takes years sometimes. So congrats on that 100 episodes there with my brother. And then I just started the podcast with the wife called Running in Slow Motion. That's going well. She's having a fun time doing it. I'm having a fun time doing it. And then, of course, you got the True Crime Murders podcast, too. So both of us are so fucking busy, and we're funny dudes, and we're good-looking black guys, too. I mean, we got the whole world by its fucking tail, bro. Whole world by its tail.
I don't know if I want the whole world, just my own small little section. You can have the rest.
You know, I want
You
the
know,
whole fucking thing. I want the
you can
whole
have
fucking pie.
because
I'm the kid
speaking of,
that.
I was gonna say, speaking of pie, I watched Life yesterday.
See, I want that whole fucking pie. I,
I was
I'm the
just gonna take one of them white only pies, turn it into
all the
nigga pie.
pies. I was a kid that when my mother made us bowls of ice cream for me and my siblings, I was always looking to see who had more than I had and why did they get that bowl and I didn't get that bowl. So I want all of the bowls, all of them. Said Edison is in with us. What up, bro? What's good, bro?
What up, Sid? Long time no see, my
Yeah,
brother.
man. He threw a congrats out to you on your 100th episode as well.
Thank you. Believe it or not, it's actually my fourth podcast that's got over 100 episodes. Obviously, this we've been doing this for what,
Yeah.
in one variation of another. This is what, 4 years now, because Our World Black and
Hope
White
so.
kind of morphed into
Yep.
this. So
Yep.
yeah, that's
Yep.
clearly over 100 episodes. The Pat Downs at 200. Sorry, we're canceled. Just hit 100. And a podcast I no longer do. I used to do with my buddy Johnny Kraft. It was called the Unhappy Hour Daily, and we had over 100 episodes. But this is back when podcasting was in its infancy, and I don't even know if those are available anymore. But we did over 100 episodes, and so I've always been a fan of the podcast medium. I wanted to be a broadcaster when I was a kid, but there's too much FCC violations with radio, and here we can pretty much say whatever we want without getting fined. So I appreciate that. But thank you, Sid, and thank you everybody who's ever listened to me on any of the podcasts that I do. I've done guest spots on other people's podcasts. So just type in my name in the Google search, and you can find all the recordings that I've done.
My homie Bruce is with us. He jumps in. He says, "What's up, guys? What's good, Bruce?"
What
Carla
up,
is with
Bruce?
us. She says, "Hello, guys." Carla, nice to see you back in the
What up,
fold with
Carla?
us all. How many episodes are you here on NTD? Podcasting wise, because we stopped putting them up as a podcast, just to try to test to see what was the best way. I think we're at around 83, but we are technically well above that on how many shows that we've done. So that's kind of where we stand with that. And Melee says, congratulations on your 100th episode as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, for NTD, we're probably at like 120 or so. I mean, it's been over 2 years. We've taken a few Mondays off here and there, but it's easily been.
And we're just starting to see some real movement on numbers for podcasting too, as well as for the YouTube show. The thing that gets me with doing things on YouTube or uploading to YouTube, and I don't know how I should or should not feel about this because people's attention spans are so what they are, and our shows are the last couple have been almost an hour and a half. They'll jump on for and don't watch the entire show for whatever reason, and I'm like, well, are they bored with it, or they are attention spans truly just that short that people just want to bounce, 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 bounce?
When it comes to YouTube, I don't think they get bored with it. I think YouTube is just one of those apps where you watch it while you're waiting for something else to happen. Well, let me hop on YouTube real quick and while I get my oil change and I'll watch until
Yeah,
my car is ready or something like that.
yeah.
So, whatever for forever how long you watch the show, thank you for watching. Again, what really helps the show more than anything else is word of mouth. So if you guys are watching and you enjoy the show, please tell somebody who you think might watch or enjoy the show as well, who might watch. It doesn't hurt to tell somebody about it, and whatever we get after that is bonus.
Yeah, but our numbers been and Dion's right, and our numbers have been going up. The the best thing for us about this podcast is we enjoy doing it, and that's probably why so many people fall off is because they don't really enjoy doing the fucking show in the first place. You're just doing it for the wrong reasons, trying to get famous, trying to make money, trying to do whatever you're trying to do, but not enjoying what you're doing. And so that's the bonus thing for us is that we enjoy each other and we enjoy what we're doing. And we enjoy all of you, of course, as well.
I was gonna say, yeah, we definitely enjoy all of you guys who come each and every Monday. We definitely appreciate that. Join that Patreon so you can join in when we do our bonus episode and have a question and answer session, which is a lot of fun. Shout out to Mary,
Yeah, man.
who's
Yeah, man. We have some good
been.
conversations, and we do it. We answer questions. Bring your questions. We do answer them. I mean, obviously, don't ask us about anything that happened 20 years ago, that we may have witnessed. But anything outside of that, we will respond to. So jump in there.
Where were you on 9/11?
And hell, if it's only $1, jump in and just do $1 a month. We'll be happy with your dollar a month. A few months of that'll help us buy light bulbs or batteries or whatever. So we'll take that too. All right, let's jump into the show, man, because we don't want to waste anybody's time. Thank you guys again for watching and listening. I want to start with the Jason Aldean um,
Small town garbage.
small small town garbage. It came to light for me a few days ago because CMT would not play the video anymore because of all the backlash it was getting that they were getting verbally from people, from the imagery, from some of the lyrics. And the first thing I thought was we have to talk about this on the show because I got to know what Sayed thinks. I got to know what Danielle thinks. I got to know what Malay thinks. Bruce, all of you, anyone who jumps on, I want to hear about it. But I had to know, number one, what this other black guy on the show was going to have to say about this shit here. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to give you a little room and I'm going to jump in and give you my thoughts. What you got?
First off, I just want to say that I'm not upset with him for making the video. I'm not upset with him recording the song. I'm not upset with the contents of the song. My issue comes with how he's defended the song and the use of its imagery. I again, you can be as racist as you want to be. I have no problem with that. It's your life. You live it however you want. My issue comes with when you have to deal with the consequences of your choices and
Folks, you still with me? I think Dion might have fell off here. Bring it back here. I'm gonna drop him off and jump back on. All right, so I can kind of see where Dion was gonna go. He's starting off where I'm gonna start. I'm not going to start because I want to step on his toes, but it seems like he's starting right where I am. Let me get him a chance to get back up here. Bro, you good?
yeah, I don't know what happened. It just
That was on my
froze.
end. That was on my end. So sorry. You were saying your issue was not the song, but things he said
Yeah,
afterwards.
to me, it's not the song itself; it's the defense of the song that is what's really irritating to me. I don't like when people blatantly use dog whistles, and then when you call them on it, they act like they don't know what you're talking about. That to me is the most frustrating and irritating part about this. Is like, yo, if you want to take your hood off in public, be a man about it. Take your hood off in public. Stand on what you know you're doing. And for me, I don't even think he believes this crap that he's saying. To me, it's just another cash grab to get clicks and likes. He doesn't really care. He's doing the Candace Owens approach. There's right wing dollars to be made, and if you're not gonna make the middle and the left wing dollar, then go get the right wing dollar, because that's at the end of the day what this always boils down to anyway. I mean, it's the main reason why CMT took the video down, is because, oh, we might lose money, therefore we have to change our attitude. Whether you actually change what you believe or not is irrelevant. It's what's generating the business. Jason Aldean doesn't give a shit about small towns. He's not even from a small town. His hometowns had 150,000 people in it. That's not a small town. So just don't bullshit me. Basically, what this all boils down to. Don't bullshit me. I don't like when people try to bullshit me.
I'm with you there. And when you and I were having our pre-show, I was still doing research, and I came across his statement that he made, and I wrote it down here. And quoting him, he said, "The intentions of the song was to refer to the feelings of community and people taking care of their neighbors, regardless of blah 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 blah." And I'm with you on two fronts. One, if you're gonna make a song and you're gonna use the imagery that you use, then stand on it later. Stand on it later. Second, I think part of him does believe it, because you wouldn't create it if you didn't have something somewhere in your heart that you believe this to be true. For you to use some of the imagery that he used, you, you do know that a lot of those people who were there on the 6th of January are from small towns. You are aware of some other things that I was looking up earlier today as well. When you talk about trying to praise the small town, you forget about certain things like opioid rates are higher in small towns than rural areas. Uh, Stats say that the rural areas have higher gun violence than cities. Poverty is higher in rural areas. And my favorite one here, and this is a recent one. This one came out before I got wind of this video. The high tax blue states like California that everybody bitches about, they actually fund the low tax red states. So when you go on these rants, whether you're in private or you're in public or you want to create these songs, tell the whole story. And that is always my thing, not with just this, with liberals as well. Tell the whole story. That's why when people try to come to me and say Trump is racist or Biden's is racist, I go ahead and I point them back to the person that they want to prop up. Because I believe both those 70-something-year-old white men are racist. In fact, I believe most people in that age group are racist regardless of color, just based off of how they grew up and the company that they keep. But Jason Aldean for sure knew what he was doing, and I have a high issue with him creating this song.
I don't have a problem with him creating the song, because again, I think it's important for people to be who they are. That way, aren't all confused. That's where the real conversation starts. Is when I find out who you really are as a person. If you really believe this small town garbage that you're spilling in the song, if that's what you really believe, okay, that's where we start to have the conversation. Where I can bring up the things like California is taxes supplement all these shitty red states. Like we can actually start to have a conversation to where whether we agree or disagree at the end of the conversation probably won't matter, but at least there's a starting point there. But if I can't even sit down and have a conversation with you and you're not being genuine about what you truly think and what you truly believe, then we're never ever ever going to be able to have any type of conversation that has any substance to it. If at the end of the day I can sit down and say, yo, that song's racist and give you all the examples why, and you can be like, I hear what you're saying, I don't believe you for whatever reason, and then that's the end of it, then okay, I said my piece. I don't have to try and convince you anything otherwise, and we're fine. But this
Well,
whole the
go
whole
ahead.
dog whistle notion that we're putting up with, it to me is ridiculous. I think it's just a load of crap. It's him trying to get away, pull a fast one on the right wing people when in all actuality he doesn't truly believe this crap because he's traveled enough to know the bullshit he's talking about.
You can travel all you want. Doesn't mean that you don't believe what you believe. I go back to the story. Well, I won't go back to that story because I don't want to retell it again. But I've met people from all walks of life, black and white, who've been on this planet long enough, have come across enough people because they've traveled and they still walk around with the thoughts in their head. I still know black people who think white people smell like dogs when they get wet, when that's not what they smell like, but that's what you were told. And you've been around enough white people, whether you've been in college or the military or whatever, at the pool, this is still something you believe. Just like there are white people who believe everything about black people that they see on TV, regardless of where you've been and how many different times you've come across it. So I don't think he. I think he does believe it in his heart because I think he is a racist, and I think he knows what he was doing. I don't think he was doing it for the dollar, like Said says here, I believe. Said says, I agree he knew what he was doing when he made the song. The lyrics are arguable if they're racist, but the imagery says it all. Well, Said, I guess if you want to sit down and you want to pull the lyrics apart away from the imagery, but I think when you go back and read his statement, he says, I did not say one thing that can be misconstrued as being racist. I'm paraphrasing. And all of the footage that's used is actual news footage. So I would argue back with you on that, Said, if we were arguing about this. Of course, he didn't use any lyrics that can be pointed to as being racist, outright racist. He didn't need to. Let's just pull the news footage, let's cherry pick that and throw that in. And even if it doesn't match with what I'm trying to say, the mere fact that it's there is enough to give you at least a hint of what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, it always boils down to lowest common denominator, which in this country has always been racism. From 1776 on, certain people in this country haven't had the same rights as everybody else, whether it be white women or black people or indigenous people, whatever arguments you want to make there. I mean, if you're not a white man, you've had you've had at some point in time in this country oppression from that group. And for him to get up here and say, well, this song doesn't have any racist undertones to it, like, cut the crap. Everything in this country does have racist undertones to it because it's our biggest issue. It's it's the thing that generates business here in this country. I mean, you take all the money that was made during free labor times, slavery. Where do you think that money came from? They were making money and not paying to the people who were doing the work. That funded everything else. Like, so yeah, when you boil it all down, that's what it's going to come back to me. It's more important for him to just stand on it. Just stand on it. If that's who you are, say that's who you are. Don't beat around the bush. Don't make me the asshole to call you out on it, because that's what ends up happening is they become the victims of their own bullshit. And it's like, no, you can't be a victim of your own bullshit. You started it and you bring it to my face and I address you. And now all of a sudden I'm the aggressor. Like, no, man, this was your quote unquote screw up, if that's what you want to call it. But this was your doing. I didn't do it. You brought it
Well,
to me.
Well, it wasn't a screw up, and I would bet anything that they already had the statement that he released and any other statements that may be released going forward already written and ready to go because they knew what they were doing. Charles Slim is with us. Says, "What up, though? What up, though, bro?" Danielle says, "Although I'm gonna duck for cover after I ask about this, what do you what do you think about the buzz from people saying all kinds of rappers rap about come to my city and I'll put a bullet in your head? Thoughts on that?" Danielle, that is an absolutely great question. And I see it completely as asinine for several different reasons. One, we've seen enough violence within the rap community that should be some type of halt should be on that. But there are still a few, not as many, but there's still a few rappers who do it. And two, a lot of these rappers are not what they're even rapping about in the first fucking place. So that is my thought on it, and I don't see a huge difference in it, except for I'm gonna let you go. Daniel. I got something else I want to say, but I'm gonna think on it. Go ahead.
So her question is, can you read her question one more time?
What do you think about the buzz from people saying all kinds of rappers rap about come to my city and I'll put a bullet in your head? Thoughts on that?
Okay, one, I think it's dumb. But two, they're talking about a very specific group of people, basically the people who oppose their way of life, so to speak. This song, that small town, paints every small town person as somebody who believes this garbage. So even if you come from a small town and you don't adhere to what this song is talking about, according to Jason Aldean, you are one of those people, which to me is ironic because I know a bunch of small town people who cannot stand police, who don't like have any respect for police. They don't care about the fucking military. So this whole notion is like, to me, again, it's him saying something without actually saying something. And that's where my frustration lies. I don't mind if that's what you're saying, but don't tell me when I hear what you're saying and I call you on it, and then you call me the what's the word? You're just progressing racism. You're just. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. You're doing that, and you're trying to get away with it, and I'm calling attention to it, and now all of a sudden I'm playing the race card. I'm like, well, you brought it up. You know what you're doing with these images. You know exactly where you filmed this music video. You know exactly the history of that building. Don't act like you don't know. And the fact that when people call you out on it, all of a sudden, oh, they're playing the race card. Well, why does everything have to be about race? Well, because you brought it up. You made the song. I never talked to you before you said anything about this song. I didn't even know who Jason Aldean was 2 weeks ago. So is
I,
it my fault or is it his fault?
I give Trump credit for, and this is going back to Danielle's question. So Danielle, I hope you're still there. I give Trump credit for a lot of different things when he ran and when he was president. One of them was that white people realize that they do and that they can, and they often play the race card themselves. Now, they play it differently than black people play it because you're almost playing it from as if your hand is already superior to the person you're sitting across from, as opposed to when the black person plays it, they feel like they're playing it from a hand of weakness, and I got to play this card to try to get some type of points put on the board. And so whenever I hear someone say something as you have given me, Danielle, or as you say that you're seeing people say, that is another version of playing the race card. Anytime you do not want someone that you liked attacked or they do not like attacked, such as Jason Aldean in this song and this video, now we're going to come, well, what about black people do and what about black people say and what about this and what about that? So again, those people are just attempting to play a race card out of their own hand. It's not just black people who can and not just black people who do it. White people do it and have been doing it very often ever since Trump ran and got into office. What I would say after I've given it a little thought is no one cares about black on black crime. No one cares about what black rappers say about their cities until something is said about someone and something that they like. So I don't, it's hard for me to sit and have a conversation with someone who brings that to the table because I'm pretty sure for many years you had no concern at all with that music or with those people in those cities? That would be my response to that.
The whataboutism for what about Chicago is always, what about Chicago? What about Chicago? What about Chicago? What about Chicago? What does Chicago or rappers, what does that have to do with this? Right? If black people are responsible for every other black person, why are not white people not responsible for every other white person? Like if that's going to be the argument that you use, why does it not fit for both sides? That's what's really frustrating for me is they always want to bring up what about Chicago? Well, what about rap? What about it? Is it not the same issue that we're talking about here? So
What
why are
about
you
Charlottesville?
mentioning
What about all
yeah,
those things?
what about storming the Capitol? What about it? What is the arg? What's the defense? Well, they're doing it, so why do I have a problem with Jason Aldean but not Chicago? There's not a single person who is not in that life who doesn't have a problem with Chicago, right? There are marches in Chicago all the time to end gun violence and gang violence, literally all the time. Whenever somebody says, "What about?" they never do the research or look into the thing they're asking the question about. Like, if you really wanted to know what was going on in Chicago, there's a plethora of information that you can go and find for all the times the community leaders have rallies and meetings about what to do about that situation. So to anybody who says, "Well, what about rap?" and what about like, stop the cap. You know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Said says, but you gotta agree that he's making music for the demographic that buys his music, like rap. Sad but true. And said, I would agree with you. This is all business, all business. I was just having a conversation late last night that went into this morning when I woke back up with a friend of mine. He sent me a clip. I sent it to you, Dion, as well, with Stephen A. on his podcast talking about how First Take is all about the culture. And for people out there who are listening on the podcast or watching this right now, the culture is another word that everyone wants to use for black people, for the hood. And First Take is not, has not, will not ever be about the culture. And as I was explaining to my friend, it is business. That is it, plain and simple. That's why you've seen black people taken away off that show. That's why you've seen black people chastised when they try to come out and speak about things for the culture. Uh, 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 Jamel Hill comes to front of the forefront of my mind when I talk about that. So it's not about that. And as I told my friend, I don't have any problem with them not about being about the culture. I have no problem. I'm a businessman. I'm a capitalist. I'm about my money just like anyone else who owns a business is going to be about their money. But when you want to portray yourself as something else, that is always going to be the big issue. Always be the issue. So when you're talking about rap music or you even talking about country music, there's so many people who are back behind that Wizard of Oz curtain counting money together that you don't even realize from all different walks of life. When you talk about, we've talked about this before. So many people behind that Wizard of Oz curtain at Fox News and CNN and MSNBC counting money as well. And if you got a chance to peek back there, you would see, you would be surprised at what you see and how much they could care less about you as a viewer or a listener.
I mean, it always going to boil down to the almighty dollar. So, yeah, it's frustrating to me to have to keep having that conversation. Like, just like when I first heard the lyrics and saw the video, I was like, I'm not mad about this. Like, why would I get upset? Why? I know exactly what he's doing. I know exactly what Jason Aldean's plan is, and it's part of it is marketing strategy to the extreme, where you say something that is divisive or cancelable. Everybody loves to use that buzzword, which is one of the main reasons why we do the Sorry We're Canceled podcast. It's like you're saying all these things to get clicks and likes and views and people to pay attention so that you can, get into their pocket.
Right.
Whether you support it or where you don't support it, there's business that sprouts from that reaction, whether positive or negative. So he's not doing anything brand new. And again, if you just cut the crap and just admit to yourself and to the people you're having this conversation with, this is what I really believe. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. I could at least respect that. But the whole this is not what it's about. It's this is the same argument when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee. Well, what about the flag? It's not about the flag. And the argument, and that's not what this show's about.
Dion, give me a mic check real quick.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
I
you.
noticed
Okay,
I
cool.
froze there.
Yep, you did. I just want to make sure you weren't on a delay. Hey, folks, before the show moves on, we move on, I move on. I ask you guys to go ahead and click that share button for us. Click that share button. Dion, I did have a problem with the video. And my problem, on top of just own up to which type of anything. And even if you want to add up everything that happened for 2 years, still did not equal what happened on January 6th, which they don't want to give credit to the rightful people to. They'd rather push that off on the Antifa instead of saying what it is. So that was a problem that I had with the video. Not only what you're trying to put out there, but the fact, use the right footage. Use the right footage. Maybe use some of that January 6th footage and say that shit wouldn't play in a small town.
But we all know, I mean, lie. Whereas the years and years and years of police brutality, like you can't even compare the two. One situation is we watched in real time a man get murdered for no reason other than the fact that the person who was doing the murdering had no regard for his life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you juxtapose that to January 6th, where a guy who knew he was going to lose, knew he lost legitimately, took it to court and lost multiple times, and still was able to trick all these small town people into believing that he was somehow unjustly robbed of an election that he knew he was going to lose after his first year uh, in office. He knew he was going to lose, and he lied about, oh, if I don't win the next one, it's because they stole it from me. And then he made all these phone calls and hid all these documents and tried to set up fake electors. This whole grand scheme of to do whatever it takes to keep myself in power. Like those two things don't compare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to me, how do you get tricked on the same old bullshit over and over and over again is mind-boggling to me. I mean, granted, most of these small town peoples don't ever leave their small towns for any significant period of time. They may go on vacation to Disney World or go see the Grand Canyon, but they quickly return back to the same old bubble that they're going to live in for their entire lives. And if that's what they want to do, fine. I don't have any problem with that. Just my issue comes, don't come to a conversation ill prepared to handle the conversation that you're trying to have. And these people don't have any experience outside of what they know. And then they try to challenge your experience based off shit they make up. That's my
Mm-hmm.
biggest issue with this
Yeah.
whole situation, which is why it's so frustrating, is because these people always want to challenge your lived experience with conjecture and hearsay and no life experience to the contrary. Whereas, as a black person, you get the black experience and the white experience whether you want to or not.
Good points. Good points. Katarina Bones Sparrows Dibble says there's a conversation. And so, what I did want to say before we get to what I did want to say before we get to the rest of the comments is a concert. I'm sorry, maybe she meant concert conversation. I was trying to put together what she was saying there. Katarina, I think you're going where I was going to go. Jason Aldean was there in 2017 when that sniper started shooting and killing people at that country music festival in Las Vegas. So that's another thing that people have taken him to task about. I saw, first person I saw bring it up, I believe, was Whoopi Goldberg on The View. And I saw other people making mention of it too, that you were there when this happened. You know what this means to drop these lyrics about guns and come get our guns and all these different things and what happened if you come and do these things in a small town. You saw this happen when you let a gun get into the wrong hands of someone. Yet, 6 years later, you're callous enough to kind of put this song out. But again, it's about the almighty dollar.
No one's ever said they were going to come and take people's guns away. It
Never,
would be illegal for them to even try to come and take your
never.
legally purchased gun. What they're trying to do is make it harder for people who shouldn't have guns to get guns. That's literally all gun reform is. And for whatever reason, the NRA and the gun lobbies and all these crazy nut job people who are like, no, you can't have my gun. Da, 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 da. It's like no one wants to take your legally purchased firearm. They want to make it harder for people to get firearms who should not have them. We should all be able to agree with that because we have witnessed, due to the evidence of what happens when people who aren't responsible with guns get their hands on them. Any punk schmo lute can get on a huge scale, and it's like, I mean, there was a shooting here in Indianapolis a couple years ago at FedEx where a guy was red flagged. He shouldn't have had a gun. They didn't take it from him, and he went and he killed a bunch of 7 people at his job that he got fired from.
Eh,
But the
But that's
police
what
knew about it. His family had warned the police, "Hey, this is going to happen. We don't think he should have this gun. Oh, there's nothing we can do about it."
too many loopholes in a lot of these different things here when you talk about gun laws, and no one knows a perfect way to get it all done. That's why nothing can't be done. But that's why the conversation keeps being had because there's a lot of money to be made. Danielle Marie says it's not dogs, it's baloney smell when our hair is wet. Get it right, Sid. Danielle, I don't believe that to be true either. But for our podcast listeners, let's if you're new to the show, Danielle is Caucasian and my sister, and so just know that when she says white people's hair smell like bologna when it gets wet. Katarina, this is your first time with us, I think. I don't think you've been on with us, or at least you never commented. Dion, this a friend of yours?
It's the
All right.
first time, yeah.
Okay. So she puts in all caps, the whole industry is racist and satanic. So I'm gonna take a beat, and Dion can take a beat. Let's talk about this one real quick. Katarina, I do not think the whole industry is racist or satanic. What I do believe, the whole industry is capitalistic. So you can take it and chalk that up into what you want to, but I think that more so than anything else. All they care about is the color green. That's the only color.
Here's what I would say to the racism aspect of country music, right? So if you're not racist and you make an album and then you have all these racist people buy your album and they come to your shows and they talk to you after the show and they do all this racist stuff or racist adjacent stuff. It doesn't even have to be blatantly racist, but they wear their Confederate clothes and they do all that stuff, right? As the artist, is it not your responsibility to check them in that moment? It's like, hey, I don't want you buying my album. Hey, I don't support that. If you rock with that, then you don't rock with me. That's not what I stand for. That's the end of it. That's the end of the conversation. I guarantee you, if you check somebody when they come to you, hey man, I got a joke for you, and then they start to spew the racist joke, and you go, yo, that's not what I'm about. I don't fuck with that. Don't bring that shit around me. That's the end of the conversation. I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 people will no longer support you and they'll know not to do that shit again. That 10th person will be like, yo, my bad. I thought you was this. And then you can have a conversation with them about why what they're doing is wrong. And they might be open minded to it. But again, I've always said, and I'll continue to say, I don't care personally if you hate black people for whatever reason you hate them for. That doesn't affect me. I just don't want you to be in charge of anything that I have to deal with. I don't want you in public spaces spewing your crap. What you want to do in your own home is your business. If that's the life you want to lead, knock yourself out. It doesn't really affect me.
I'm not asking the artist to make a statement about what they or he or she believes in. You're going to have your fans that are going to be your fans regardless of what. And if your fans are from the South and this is what they believe and they like country music, I'm a fan of country music myself. I don't wear and carry any Confederate flags. So I don't need to have a conversation. But I also am not going to put the onus on the artist to do that anymore. I'm going to put the onus on a gangster rapper to have to tell people who are his fans, hey, if you're a Blood or you're a Crip, I ain't with any of that. So don't listen to my music. You know,
But they do that anyway.
They do what anyway?
If you're a Blood or a Crip, one or the other, if that's what you're rapping about, it's in the music. So the defense of it is what I'm saying is if you leave the door open to interpretation, then that's where I have the issue. If you came out and you made a statement one way or the other, then that's all I
No,
can do is
Dion.
respect your
No,
opinion.
no, Dion. There's no
What do you
statement to
mean
be
no?
made. There's no
There's
statement to be
always a
made.
statement to be made.
No,
There's
any
you're
music is open to.
you either are or you are not,
No.
right? So whenever those people in the middle go, "Hey, is Jason Aldean, is he a right wing?" Da, da, da. If he never says anything, then you're left wondering, right? It's that whole clear this mess up. If you say you are, then you are. If you say you ain't, then the evidence should show that you're not. And this is the fact
But
that
it
if you don't
doesn't.
say,
But it doesn't matter. You got all kind of actors in Hollywood who come out as if they're liberals and they're Democrats and they're going to these dinners and they're doing this type of thing, and they're all still taking all of the tax breaks that come with being in that tax bracket. I don't see any of them coming out and speaking against taking any tax breaks or anything. You can say and present yourself as whatever you want to present yourself as. You can tell me you're whatever you want to. Your actions are going to say more than what your words are going to say.
that's
So
literally what I just said. I just
no,
said, let the
no,
evidence
no,
show. You come out,
no.
you make a statement,
There,
because at
what
the
I'm
end of
saying to
at the
you,
at
what I'm saying to you, there is no point of any statement. There is no point because you can come out and say
sure there
something
is,
and still
because
be doing
I
something else.
exactly, and that's my point. Is that if you come out and you make a statement and then I challenge your record and it doesn't hold up to your statement, I know you're full of shit.
You
That's my
can't
point.
see
The,
everyone's record.
Sure, you can. Look at the
No,
Dixie
you can't.
Chicks. Look at the Dixie Chicks. You want to tell me,
Okay.
as a country music artist, that you support country music? The Dixie Chicks were making country music, then they stood against George Bush, and what happened? Didn't nobody have their back? All of a sudden, the evidence shows up that you really aren't what you're talking about. You really aren't pro this and pro that. That's my whole point, is that when you make a statement, whether you think you're making it or not, the evidence is going to show at the end of the day where you really lie. And that is my whole point, is that Jason Aldean has made this statement and then he's going to try and backtrack and say, oh, no, this song's about small towns, blah, blah, blah. Like, cut the crap, bro, because I'm going to pull your record and your record's going to show that no, that's not what you're
Well, no,
talking
no,
about.
you're not, and no one else is pulling anybody's records. That's why you have people who are famous, who make a ton of money on both sides, who can walk around and say whatever it is they want to say, and people line up to follow them in whatever direction. Now you're asking
And
people who are really the majority of this country are lemmings, and they will follow these people, whether it be Jason Aldean, Donald Trump, whatever Hollywood
and,
liberal, right off a fucking cliff without ever
and
asking a question.
whose responsibility is it then to check those people?
We already know
Mine and
who's.
yours. Okay, so that's what
Go ahead.
you will always catch me checking people on their record. Like, what does your record say? Oh, you say you're about that life? Well, I should be able to tell. And when I check, this is the main reason why I got called a racist so much at the beginning when we first started this show. From all those old white dudes who used to watch the show who don't watch the show anymore. They used to call me racist each and every time because they would say, oh, I don't believe that racism is a big deal. And then I would pull the record and be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And they would have nothing to show for it. And I'm like, oh, but I'm the racist. Okay.
Well,
The evidence is what the evidence is, whether you like it or you dislike it. And that is my whole point. You can't hide the evidence. At the
I
end of the
must.
day, you can't hide the truth. The truth is what you are, and if you don't like it, then it's on you to change it.
I got to complain. I was handing out $3 Starbucks cards for whoever would call you racist. So a lot of those you didn't deserve, but someone got a tall caramel macchiato out there.
Not for $3, they didn't.
Katarina Bowes says, "Hey, buddy," and throws up a black wave. And then Frederick Jason says, "Hey, beautiful." I'm going to assume that both of you are talking to each other and not to me. All right. Danielle
Let
says,
the
"Someone told."
evidence show they're not talking to you.
Hey, I don't need your help. Danielle says, "Someone told me that about white folks' hair, and I developed a whole damn complex about it." So she had a complex about how white people's hair smell to get wet. No, that's just foolishness. Robert Scott Brock says, "Hey, is grilled cheese and tomato soup is my wet hair smell?" Well, everybody wants to be around Robert when it rains. Probably then. When it gets a little chilly, everybody invites Robert over. Let's see here. Katarina says, this is great convo, Frederick. Thank you, Katarina. We appreciate that. Miss Susie Myers. What? Where you been, Miss Susie? Glad you're back. She says, censorship? Songwriters, like comedians, express themselves in their own way. When they piss about music, they throw rap lyrics around too. Susie hit it. You know what? Miss Susie, we haven't done an applause break in a while, but there you go. Could have gave the Dion a couple of comments ago, but I didn't think he deserved it. Frederick says,
Let
yeah, I
the
figured
evidence
I'd check
show
it
there's
out.
hate in your heart.
We already know that. Frederick says, yeah, figured I'd check it out. Frederick, thanks for jumping in with us. We appreciate it. Dustin Hutchins, longtime friend, says, hi, Sydney. What's up, bro? What's up to Bruce, he says. So they're talking to each other. All right, let me go ahead and scroll here. Katarina says, what's messed up is when you look white like me and insinuate certain things. Mind you, I'm Hispanic and Palestinian, but this country goes off what you look like.
And to me, there's a perfect example of what the black experience is. They don't know your politics, but they know what your skin is, right? That's the basis for all of our interactions. What do you look like? I don't know if you're gay. I don't know if you're Jewish, but I know you're black. And at the end of the day, that's the starting lineup. What black people have gone through hasn't been because of who they are as people or as a community or as a culture. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It's what they look like. You are descended from people who looked like property, 3/5 human. You look like that. So that's where you start. And you hope that the majority of the people that you interact with in this country don't treat you that way. But that is the baseline. And until that's addressed, it's never going to go away. And for whatever reason, whenever you bring up that conversation, people don't want to have it. No, don't talk about it. It's impolite. I don't feel comfortable. Well, child wearing the skin color. If my skin color makes you uncomfortable, that should be something that you will want to address.
Yeah, but here's the thing I would say about this, and we've said this before, and you touched on it earlier with an earlier comment, Dion. And they've been talking about this a lot. I've been hearing a lot of academics talking about uh, where the reference to skin color even came from, and it kind of started here, and it was because uh, the white folks who had all the money and the power, they wanted to make sure that the white folks who did not have any money or power didn't turn against them, along with everybody else who didn't look like them. So they started to divide people into groups. So whether you were poor and white and rich and white, you were still better than anyone who was not part of this group. So that's kind of where this whole thing started. What I'll say is this, and you touched on this. When you talk about race and you talk about division and you talk about where we are now, white women get a short end of the stick as well. But because they have been a part of the group so long, they don't even see themselves as a minority as much as they should, except if it comes to sexism alone. When they are a minority well beyond just sexism, well beyond making 50 cents on the dollar. Their conversation needs to be pushed even further. Then I think we talked about it a few months ago. When you talk about affirmative action, white women got the bulk of the jobs that came from affirmative action, more so than any other minority group, any other demographic of a minority in this country. But you would, again, do not know these numbers or know these facts, and you will go against yourself. So going back to what you're saying and what Katarina is saying, it is most unfortunate that we only see ourselves as either one or the other, when all of us, especially in the minority groups, are so much more than that.
I mean, yes, we are so much more than that. But just being that should be enough, right? Like it shouldn't be an adverse reaction to the way that I look. At the end of the day, I mean, I think that is you can dress it up however you want to dress. You can put lipstick on a pig all you want. It's still a pig, right? So at the end of the day, the issue has always been a problem with the other. And my whole my whole adult life, I've been trying to get people to understand that you don't need to have a problem with the other. Like the whole thought process behind why you have a problem with the other is white supremacy. Like that is the reason why these issues happen. That's the reason. So until you deal with that, for whatever reason, white supremacy exists, irregardless, right? But that is the reason
You just
why.
can't just say irregardless these things. I mean, I mean, you just speed through some yellow
Well,
lights there.
because no, what I'm saying is because at the end of the day, when you get down to breaking down what white supremacy has done to people, like whatever reason white people felt they were superior, they're allowed to feel that way. That doesn't mean it's right. What I'm saying is this: the way the Constitution is written, that we're all equal, right, under the eyes of the law, right? But then you have the 3/5 clause, and slavery is illegal, and then unless you're a prisoner, right? So it's literally all these things that break down why we have these interactions that we do. There's a reason why Jason Aldean is making this song. There's a reason why he's saying without saying what he's saying in this song. Like the reason for all that needs to be addressed, and people don't want to have that conversation because they fear of getting labeled into that group of people like, I'm not racist. I'm like, but again, that's a whole nother conversation that we can have where you break down what it means to be
Yeah.
racist and where that comes from.
Not sure if Jeremy Kluger is still with us. Jeremy is an old friend. Grew up in the same town. Says, what do you honestly think would happen if people tried that shit in K-Pac? Jeremy, if you are with us, be a little more precise on when you say that shit. What are you talking about exactly? And then if you're still there, I'll be happy to answer that question. All right, let me scroll down a little bit here. Because I don't know if you're talking about Charlottesville. I don't know if you're talking about January 6th. I don't know if you. I don't know exactly. I want to. So give me a precise thing of what you're talking about, Jeremy, please and thank you. All right, let me scroll. Facebook user says they fail to see that the result of violence in cities like Chicago is more likely a result of community that has been disenfranchised for generations. It's easier to judge them and write them off than to invest in the communities and youth to curb violence and recidivism over time. Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons for what we
That's
see.
Roxy.
Roxy, a lot of different reasons why we see what happens in Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, so on and so forth. I would agree, and we think we talked about this 2 shows ago, that there were a lot of social programs. And again, me as a conservative, I can still see the benefit of some of those social programs that were taken away. Where are we at now? Fucking 40 plus years ago, they started snatching them things, closing parks, taking away the after school programs, trying to pull away the free breakfast programs, all these different things they did for people who fell into a certain social class. Uh, so I'm with you there, but there's got to be some other things that can be done as well. The cities don't do themselves any favors either by letting certain things just happen because police don't want to go in certain areas of the city, or taking, and I know this